Hey guys, RC here, back with just a short video. This video, while it's going to be posted in the Journeyman save, probably ties more in with my Help A Yank series. Uh, so, real quick, right here, we are playing as Worcester, and we've gone on a nice little run lately. At the time that you see this, you will not have seen the next video where I've actually made some changes, but here's why I'm doing this. Because some things came up in some of the comments that I think were actually helpful to an extent. Again, keep in mind, I'm not good at this game. I'm efforting to learn, and so some things just don't make a lot of sense to me. Looking at it from the outside. So I want to go through a couple of comments that were made and discuss them, and hopefully I can ask some at least semi-intelligent questions about those questions that or statements that were given to me in the comments. Thank you for that, by the way. And then we can tie that all together between my two saves and help me get better here. This might be one of those breakthrough moments. Maybe. I don't know yet. I've read them. I have not implemented them in game yet, but I have read them, and that's why I pulled the game up. So I kind of want to, the reason for the video is I kind of want to think through it out loud with you guys, to where, if this is going to be one of those epiphany moments, that I get the most out of it, and if I'm getting something out of it, then other guys can also get something out of it. So real quick, let's hop over to here. And I have 3 videos that I've posted. And Don Emery, Don has been basically from day one with this save, one of the contributors in the comments. Don, thank you very much for just taking time to try to help me out. You have no idea how much that means to me. So Don's got a bunch of comments in here, and we're starting off. This is from the Help A Yank series, and then the other 2 comments are from the Journeyman episodes 6 and 7. So I think they kind of go together, because I think Don sees what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to learn, but again, it's trying to use 2 saves to get as much playing time and give you guys as much insight. So I like a 4-1-3-2, or more likely, I usually play with a 4-3-1-2 is the formation I normally play with. Now he makes some comments in here about how in my setup. Now this is the Help A Yank, and I have the Journeyman loaded, so we can't look at the formation, but he's talking about how to set your outside center mids to close down more in the instructions. It's what I'm understanding here is trying to tweak your directions to the player. All right, I want you to play here, but I also want you to do something else. I want you to do this, and in this case, it's to close down more. So if we look at a tactic here, and I do. Okay, so here's a 4-3-1-2. I'm playing a 4-1-3-2. But I'm playing it in this shape. So what he's saying is while this is a defensive set, I'm still very vulnerable on the flanks. And in that particular formation, this left fullback is on attack rather than defend. So he's going to be spending a lot of time making runs all the way to the touchline. So when people break on me or counter on me, they end up in with only my 2 central defenders playing defense. and that's what's costing me, it appears. So I can actually direct these guys. Now I don't know where to do this. It used to be you could pull up the player and there was particular instructions, but I don't know where to go to do that anymore. Not there. See, I don't... player? Oh, here we go. Okay. So, not my goalkeeper. This would be my left back. And I would go in and I would tell him to... Well, see, it doesn't tell me. There's nowhere to... Oh, mark tighter? Closing down. Here we go. All right, so he's saying tell that center mid to close down more in the player instructions. So close down more. All right, so we would tell him to do that, and instead of much less or just sometimes. And that what that'll do, I want to cancel that, get out of there. So what that'll make him do is when they are breaking, then he will actually slide out and close down and fill that position to help if this fullback is making a run. And hopefully in that closing down, he may also drift out as well and help maybe fill in holes back here. So that's what I think I am understanding. I think I'm understanding that. So I've got to go. So anyway, I wish I could figure out how to undo all that, but because once you change it, it's locked in. Let's see. Okay, so that was the first thing. Anyway, we'll worry about that later. All right, the next thing was in this save. All right, now this was from episode 6, and I don't remember. I think that was up. I think this was Boston United and Salford. I think that was up here, or United and Field. And I lost both of those games. So he says that I lost both matches before we even started the game. And he says even though you're on counter, the formation is very attacking and leaves so much more space in the middle of the field. In both games, the opposition flooded the middle. You have to play defensive on the road and try not to concede. Basically, try to get 1 point from every match is enough to avoid relegation. So this comment here, you know, and I don't take anything personally, but basically saying, dude, you're stupid. And Don, I'll admit it, I am stupid when it comes to this game, hence me asking for the help. But I know Don doesn't mean that because of all the other comments that he's made, and I know he is trying to help me. But the point being, I don't know how to make these tactics. I don't know what's attacking. I don't know what's defensive. You know, when I played the sport when I was younger, and when I watch videos of other people that play FM, they use the same formation and they can make it an attacking or a defensive. So that is why, you know, this, you know, I looked at it that, hey, this is my attacking one and this is my more, well, I guess what I should do is if I want to play the 4-3-1-2 is I should play that 4-1-3-2 both sides, right? But more like that. So I've got one with the attacking mid and one with the defensive mid, and it's the same shape so they learn it the same way and it's not as confusing to them. But then I can change my commands in here to where I have more defensive capabilities. So take my fullbacks off of attacking and put them on maybe a support role, but then have these guys closing down more like he suggested a minute ago. Something like that. Maybe that's what I need to do. But then it was the last comment that he made this morning that kind of gave me something that I could see. All right. So in this one, it was the very last thing. So naturally, the series title is Help A Yank Learn Football Manager. I'm an American, okay? It's soccer to us. It will always be soccer to us. We will never get over that. We have our own football, but I love the game, okay? No matter what we call it, I love the game on the pitch. I love to watch it. I love to watch the pinpoint passing and the finesse of the game. I love the creativity when they use triangles and squares to beat an opponent, the give and go, and just the dancing movement of a shape as it moves up the pitch to create a goal, or at least a shot on goal. It's fascinating to me, and I can see that on the TV when I'm watching a game. I can see how they're moving, and I can pick that out. What I can't do is I can't transport that into this game. I don't know how to do that. Okay, so Don, again, thank you very much. Now, first off, I do want to point out, Pet Pangolin is a new viewer. OOTP is a game that is very similar to Football Manager, but it is the game of baseball. It is a management game, just like Football Manager, and it is probably, outside of Football Manager, the best management simulation game out there. But even as in-depth as the baseball game goes, it's nowhere close to what Football Manager seems to make you have to learn. So if you like baseball and you like management, definitely recommend that. But he, like me, Pet came over from OOTP, and he keeps wanting to try Football Manager, and he likes the sport, but he doesn't understand it. And that's why I started this series, because I said, if I have problems and I know the sport, at least to a certain extent, there's a huge market of potential FM players out there that would love to join the FM community and are overwhelmed by the game and can't or won't. Okay? I mean, like me, this is my 4th time trying this game, and you can see I'm still shit. After 4 versions of the game, it hasn't gotten any easier, and I give up and quit. Now, I don't want to quit because I love the game, and I think it's a great game, and I want to be able to play it, and I want to be able to play it well. I don't need to be dominant. I don't need to be able to win every match every year and win 15 league titles in a row and dominate Europe. And I don't need to do that. I just need to be able to know what I'm trying to learn is, okay, if I put this guy on support, what does that do? How does that work with this guy in attack? And I don't know that. And there's nowhere that teaches us that. Because to me, that is what I'm missing. It's understanding the shape of the formation, of the tactic, and then what these commands and positions do. I mean, he made a comment that one of my guys, hey, he doesn't really fit that position. But when you go up to when you look at him, it says, hey, he can play that position just fine. He can only play target, so he's not a good example. This guy, okay, he can play all 3 of these equally, relatively well, above average for sure. But the comment said, well, he can only do that, and these other 2 he's shit at. Well, okay, but that's not what the game's telling me. So how am I, as a new person, supposed to get that? Anyway, getting off tangent here, but that's kind of where this is all coming from. Now, Don made a great point. He compared it to American football, and that helps me because American football is certainly a game that I know a lot more about compared to soccer. I played soccer, I played football, but American football is a sport that I watch every week. I watch it, 8 to 10 hours a day on Saturday during the season. Sunday, I usually watch at least a few hours. Mondays, sometimes. Thursday nights, there's games. High school games on Fridays. So, there's weeks that I watch five days a week. I watch the sport. I can see it on TV. With soccer, I'm a Leeds fan. Leeds, the only place I can find them is ESPN when they have that game selected for a stream. I've been lucky enough to catch them the last two games in a row, which they both lost. Before that, I can watch. Fox has the Bundesliga, and you can catch the Premiership, and that's about it. And honestly, I don't want to watch Manchester United if I'm a Leeds fan. And while it may be, because my thing is, I don't have the passion that somebody in England has for these teams. Leeds is a team that I've chosen, and I chose them back in the 1970s to be a fan of. But what happens is if you're watching a sport and you can only watch one team, or there's a team. I've got a friend. He's never watched a soccer game in his life. Another friend of his finally got him involved in watching it on TV. And who's one of the teams that's always on TV? Arsenal. So he became an Arsenal fan. He's got no ties to Arsenal, just like I've got no ties to Leeds. But they're the team that he can watch regularly on TV. And so by watching them regularly, he has formed a connection to them and has become a fan of Arsenal. I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want to watch Arsenal and become an Arsenal fan because I don't want to be one. So anyway, he compares it to American football, and that helped me out a lot. So in American football, you have a 4-3 defense, which has basically four defensive linemen and then three linebackers or three midfielders. And then you have two deep covers, and then you have two cornerbacks out wide to cover their receivers. Different game, I understand, but this is more of a formation where your front line takes up all the blockers and allows your center midfielders to make the actual plays. So these are the three guys that would be the stars in a 4-3 formation. On the flip side, you have a 3-4 formation. Now, granted, I don't think a three-back line works in soccer, but that's what we actually used to play a lot here. But in a 3-4, it's your linebackers that press up into the gaps here in the line, going to try to get the opposing player, and they're the ones that draw the blockers, and it puts the ability to make more plays on your front three guys. So these are the guys in a 3-4 that typically become the star players because they're making all the plays. So Don makes that analogy, and that does make sense. So in a 3-4, this is more against a passing team because these guys can blitz through the lines to get to the quarterback who's going to throw the ball. Whereas in a 4-3, that's more against a rushing attack or a running game because they can tie up at the line of scrimmage and make it harder to get through for the ball carrier from your enemy. So he gives that analogy, and at least it gives me something I understand and can grasp the concept. So it's all about numbers. Match your formation versus your opponent. Attack where you have the advantage and defend where they have the advantage. Also note your opponent will change formations during the match. All right, I need to figure out how to put their formation on the screen. Now, the question I have about this, Don, you can answer. Anybody else that watches this, you can answer too. As noted, I watch a ton of FM videos. I have not seen a single person ever switch formations during the game. And typically they find a tactic that works and they just go with it. Now, I haven't watched everybody. I'm not saying that, but that's so this is odd to me to be telling me I have to play this way, because I don't see anybody else play that way. That they basically take their one tactic and make it work both ways. That it works, they can switch like one player or one command or whatever, and it becomes, instead of an offensive, it becomes a defensive formation. Something to that effect. But I can understand what you're saying, because up here you say that a 4-3-1-2. Okay, so a 4-3-1-2. Let me. There we go. So 4-3-1-2. That's attacking because it has 3 people in the attacking end, and a 4-1-3-2, which is basically the same setup, just swapping out the one guy, now becomes a defensive set. Okay, so I do understand that. That makes a little more sense now that I'm rereading it and putting it into a picture where I can see it. All right, still, this is where he goes back to this initial comment out here, that we still have, because these guys are on attacking, making runs, that, oh, and these guys were inside like that, I think. Yeah, narrow. No, this was the wide one. All right, let me come back to there. All right, so there's my basic formation. I need to move the guys around, but it is what it is. All right, so where they're making runs down the sidelines, that's leaving just my 2 center backs when there are counters and breakaway attacks. So I need to make some commands here to have these guys close down more. I had 2 midfield centers. They had 2. I had 3. So in that one, I had the advantage when they were playing a 4-4-2. My attacking mid center was free. Let me slide this over. He was free because they didn't have. You have to remember, you have to flip this up. They did not have a defensive mid to cover him. But I played a 4-1-3-2 in the next game. I moved over to this one. I had too many attack duties, not enough defend duties. And they played a 4-2-3-1. So they had 4 in the back, 2 in the mid, 3 across in the attacking mid, and then 1 up top. So they had 4 people pushing down. And so that gave them 4-on-3 advantages, especially when these guys were making runs down the sideline and getting caught out of position. So, okay, that makes a little sense. As soon as you lost the ball, it was your 2 center backs versus their 4 attackers, and 4-on-2 is going to pretty much dominate you. All right, so this makes a little sense. I'm still thrown off by what I see other FM players doing, where they basically take one shape and make it work, offensive or defensive. And I don't know if that's just a matter of changing the settings and editing the individual player instructions. I don't know if that's what it is. So anyway, again, the purpose of this video was really just to catch a lot of comments that had been made, and this one today actually kind of got me thinking. So it's a lot for me to think about. I'm trying to figure out how to implement what it is you're telling me, Don, and everybody else. So please keep the thoughts coming. But I need to know the why. Why does this have to be done? Why does this work? Why does this not work? That's what I think will help me out. And like I said, this last paragraph, when you kind of gave me the breakdown, would you play a 4-3 against a opponent in a shotgun with 4 wide receivers? Well, no, you would go into a nickel or a defensive a dime package, where you had, three or four guys up front, 1 linebacker, and then an umbrella of, the rest of your 11 players are going to be your speedier defensive guys to defend all those receivers. So that makes a little sense. I'm just trying to... I guess the big difference is that in American football, you're either playing offense or defense, so you can get very specialized. In soccer or European football, you're playing offense and defense at the same time. So how do you put a game plan together that can be attacking enough to get you shots on goal, clear-cut chances, and ultimately put the ball in the net, and yet at the same time be defensive? And if the answer is you've got to change your shape every time you go out, depending on what your opponent's doing, well, in American football they have a saying: do what you're good at, don't worry about what your opponent's doing. Just be better at what you do than they are at what they do. The second part of that question is, we deal with familiarity in this game, and you can see my formation is just competent, because it's just starting to come around, but it's getting better. If I change this and I go with some odd formation, then that changes the complete structure that I'm playing. Then doesn't that hurt my players and the development of that familiarity? If I'm constantly changing, they're never going to get good at what it is they're doing. I guess that's my question. So I don't know the answer to that. So maybe give me some feedback on that. I see what you're telling me. I may be reading too much into what you're telling me, and I do that a lot. But again, if I only have 3 tactics that I can put in at any given time, and they need basically a whole year to get really good at that tactic, and I start changing that around, and if I'm going with a 4-back that one game and a 3-back the next game, and 3 backs and 5 up top the next game, they're never going to get good at that. And but yet you're telling me to do that if that's what the opponent's tactic is calling for. So I'm a little confused by that, because I don't see how that helps the players develop this familiarity. And from my recollection of, at least from past versions of this game, familiarity is kind of the ultimate thing that we're chasing. We're trying to get familiarity to a top tier level. At least that's my understanding. So alright, well, let's put a cut in right here. Again, this was just an informational video based on a lot of comments that I've been reading over the last few days. I was due to do another recording this morning, and I said, well, you know what, let me ask a bunch of questions here. Let me go through these comments to, because I think the comments are great. I want to make sure I understand them and understand how to implement what it is you're telling me I need to try to do. Now, this makes a lot of sense, but again, if I'm reading too much into it, I'm reading in that I have to tweak this basically non-stop, not only from game to game, but minute to minute within the game. And I just don't see anybody else doing that in any of the YouTubers that I watch Football Manager on. So and most of those guys do really well. So I don't know that I don't know that my interpretation of the comment is correct, and that's on me. So again, this is just clarify for me. Tell me the whys, tell me the whats, tell me the wherefores. You know, why am I doing something? Why is that going to work? What am I doing wrong? Why is it wrong? And why would it be better to do it in another way? Because when you're answering the whys for me, I think that helps me, because that's how I learn. You know, that's how I learned when I was in school, and that's how I still learn to this day. Is by understanding the whys and kind of the nuances behind certain things. So anyway, a lot of good information, I think. And certainly you guys can see that there's other people like me that would like to play this game. You know, if there's one, there's a million. It's like a roach. If you see one, it means there's 1,000 more inside the wall. So we see one comment, you know, by Pet Pangolin. There's 1,000 other ones that haven't commented or just haven't seen the video yet. You know, and again, this is trying to help them as much as me, because I know there's a lot of us out there that want desperately to like this game, but just, you know, we just can't get to that point to where we understand the game enough to be good at it. And it's no fun to play when you're going to get sacked every 6 games, and, you know, by the time that you're in year 3, you've been fired from, you know, 4 jobs, or haven't had a job for 2 whole years, or whatever, you know. So that's what we're looking at. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and render this video, put it up today. It will come out ahead of the next episode of Journeyman that I have ready to go, and I need to do a second game for the Help A Yank series, and then edit those 2 videos, those 2 games together. So I'll be working on that this morning as well. That will probably go up tomorrow. And, you know, that'll be the next phases. So so yeah, we have Journeyman 8, I think, going up. We have gotten a little bit better. I'll give you a little bit of a tease, but we did switch over to a 4-4-2 tactic. So anyway, take a look at those, and again, you know, I'm looking for a little more clarification. I understand what you're telling me, but I need some direction now to kind of fine-tune in on why certain things work and certain things don't, because, you know, I think now we're getting into some really fine detail stuff that I think will be the next big leap forward in understanding and comprehension. Guys, thank you very much. Appreciate the input, Don, and anybody else that has checked out the videos and commented. Please keep it up. I read every single one, and I don't take it for granted. Please consider giving a thumbs up to any of the videos if you like them. It does help other people find them, and that could bring more FM players into our community that want to play the game, support the game, and, you know, but are like me, trying to get better at the game, and that's what's keeping them from being a loyal FM fan. Is because the game's just too hard to understand and too hard to play. And, you know, you might look back on that now and say, well, that's crazy, but, you know, if you think back to when you first started playing, maybe you had a lot more of the same issues that we did, and a lot of times the feedback that I get is, well, you have to understand what each tactic does. Well, I don't know what all these tactics do, and I probably never will. You know, I mean, that's a boatload of formations, and, you know, but like me, you know, if you're in Europe, you're probably just the opposite of me. If I asked you to explain the intricacies of a nickel defense in American football, you might not be able to do that as well as I could, because you don't watch, 12 games a week, or whatever the case may be. I'm not watching the sheer volume of matches that you get to watch because of where you're at. And, I'm trying, and that's all I can say is I'm trying. And, but I need your help to get there. All right, guys, well, have a good one, and we will talk to you later. Take care. Bye.